everybody! Look what I have! I got a microphone. See, I listen to your feedback and I aim to please. So we are slowly improving Bethany's YouTube channel one bit by one bit. So thank you so much for checking out this video. If you are new to my channel or if you're returning, thank you so much for coming back to listen to me rant and ramble. I'm so excited that you are here. My name is Bethany. I'm an opera singer, a makeup artist, and I've survived many scams. And on this channel, I talk about all the scams I've fallen for and what I've learned as a result. So today we have to talk about how the manifestation people have found me, and they are commenting. They are leaving their comments, and they have every right to do so. So if you are not familiar with manifestation or the law of attraction, you can watch my first video, The Scam of Manifestation, or really quickly, just the Reader's Digest version is that it's a belief that if you can fix your mindset and remove any limiting beliefs, you will match your vibration to things that you want in your life, and they will just come to you as if by magic. Money, relationships, health, etc. It's a very appealing thought, and that's why it's so popular right now. So, that being said, today we have to talk about some of the comments that I've been getting and the kind of rules that I'm going to set forth on my channel when we're discussing manifestation, because everybody has to abide by the rules of logic and science on this channel. So, the first thing we're going to address is the burden of proof. The burden of proof is always on the person who is trying to prove something does exist. There's no logical method to prove something does not exist, because that's not how it works. That's just not how it works. For example, I can prove to you that penguins exist. I can show you photos and videos of penguins. I can take you to the zoo or to SeaWorld and we can look at the penguin exhibit. Or if I have enough money, I can book us an Antarctica expedition and we can watch penguins in their natural habitat, which I would love to do. But you cannot prove that Bigfoot exists. There may have been vague stories over the years, that one famous blurry picture, that one, but nothing has ever been substantiated. So the scientific view at the moment is there's no Bigfoot unless we can prove that Bigfoot exists. It doesn't make any sense for people who believe in Bigfoot to say, well, you need to prove he doesn't exist. Because that's silly. There's not enough evidence to prove that he does. You can never argue from a place of, you have to prove this isn't real when you're talking about these things. If you're trying to advocate for something and say it's real, it's up to you to provide the evidence and the scientific proof that it exists. It's not up to the other person to prove you wrong when you haven't proven anything right in the first place. So that brings me to my second point. Anecdotal evidence is not permitted. If your response to my critiques of manifestation is, well, I've manifested XYZ, that's not scientific proof. I'm so sorry. It's not even considered evidence. It's not permitted in scientific studies or in court trials or anything like that because it's anecdotal evidence, and anecdotal evidence is not considered valid. Here's why. First of all, it's uncontrolled. I mentioned in my first video, in an actual scientific study, you have to have a control group and a test group. So if you are testing a new medicine, you have one group of people that is having a sugar pill and one group of people that is taking the new medicine. And all other variables are controlled. So their diet, their sleep, their exercise, their pre-existing conditions. You can't have someone doing this medicine who's diabetic versus someone who isn't, because the diabetic is also going to be taking insulin. They're also going to have other needs. You can't have, all these different factors. You have to limit the factors so that you can actually find out if it's that medicine that is making the difference versus all these other factors. By the own definitions laid forth by manifestation gurus and teachers, you cannot have a control group and a test group with manifestation. It's literally impossible because you can't find a group of people where all these variables that they teach affect your ability to manifest. They teach you that your childhood experiences, your past lives, things that may have happened generationally, all of those things can affect your ability to manifest. You can't have a group of people that all have the exact same childhood experiences, the exact same ancestry, the exact same past lives, which how would you know? I think, I don't know how past lives work, but I don't think that more than one person that exists today could have been the same person in their past life. So if you and me are hanging out and talking and I say, I think that I was Anne Boleyn in a past life, I choose that because I love Anne Boleyn. She is my Roman Empire, and I know she's a lot of your Roman Empire as well. And I went as a really cool, already beheaded Anne Boleyn for Halloween last year, and you can check out those pictures on my Instagram, which is just my first and last name. You can also see my cat there, which I know is very important to a lot of people. Anyway, so if we're having coffee and I say, I think I was Anne Boleyn in a past life, and you say, oh, I think I was Anne Boleyn in a past life too, I think by those rules, we can't both have been Anne Boleyn. This was kind of a tangent, but let me circle back. You cannot control for all these variables, and even if you could, there's no way to measure them either, because it's not like you can take a blood sample and say, oh, she's removed 4 of her limiting beliefs and he's removed 6 of his limiting beliefs. That's why he's manifesting. You can't measure limiting beliefs through any type of quantifiable scientific method. So therefore, you can't prove manifestation exists, at least by any measures that we have right now. And that's the first reason why anecdotal evidence is not permitted in scientific research, because it's not controlled. It can't account for so many different variables. You can say, I manifested these 5 clients into my business this month, but that's not controlling for all the other variables that might be at play. Certain types, maybe you have a really good social media presence and you're thin and white. Those are advantages on social media. If you're conventionally attractive, TikTok likes you. You get boosted in the TikTok algorithm. That is something that has been measured and has been proven. And someone else might have a better mindset or believe more in manifestation and have fewer self-doubts about themselves, but maybe they're larger and black, and TikTok is just suppressing them in the algorithm. Those are factors that come into play that are not being accounted for when you say that you manifested new clients to your business. So also, I just want to say, I just had this realization. Being an opera singer, we are able to study vibration. There's a whole thing where back in the Baroque period, our music was tuned to the frequency of 415. Is it hertz or megahertz? Anyway, it's 415. And now we tune the note A, the letter, the note A. A is 440. So it's at a higher frequency, which means all of our music is higher about a half step than it was in the Baroque period. So when you're listening to that Handel's Messiah, that Hallelujah chorus, you're actually hearing it a little bit higher than what Handel would have heard it when he was composing it. Anyway, we can measure frequencies. We can measure vibrations of different instruments, of vocal folds, all of these things. We can measure sound and it vibrates, but nobody has ever measured, people don't vibrate. And that's the whole thing of manifestation. It's you vibrate at a frequency. You don't really. We could measure it if we wanted to. So that's a side note, but I went on a lot of tangents on that one. I hope you enjoyed them. Reason 2 that we don't accept anecdotal evidence is that it's highly biased. So whatever meaning you assign to something that happened in your life is what you want to have been true. So, you have a lot of people looking at you when you walk down the street and you're like, oh my gosh, I must be like really looking good today. Or it could be that you have like a giant stain on your clothes that you don't even know about. And, it happens to all of us, or it could be that you're attractive and you have a giant stain, but you're going to assign meaning to that, that barista gave me a free coffee at Starbucks because I manifested it. Or maybe that barista you said something nice to them that really made their day. Or this has happened to me, they're a man and they think you're pretty. Or I actually just had a couple of women baristas who gave me a free cookie when I came in and ordered a chai just because I made conversation with them. I'm very outgoing. I didn't manifest that cookie. If I had been having a bad day and I didn't, or if I'd been having a good day and I just wasn't feeling as outgoing and I just I was distracted by something else, but I was still in a super high vibration and I was really excited for some good news, I might not have gotten that cookie. You can never know for sure why something happened, and that's why anecdotal evidence is dismissed, because you're going to put your own bias onto explaining that thing. Third, single person or a small number of people. You can't ascribe a reason to something that happens randomly and sporadically. And all of these people arguing with me about manifestation, it's like, you're like, oh, I did this, or my friend did this, or I know someone that manifested this. And like that doesn't count. It doesn't count because it's not enough people that this is happening to for it to really mean anything. Next reason, there's a lot of reasons anecdotal evidence is not accepted, and I need to go over all of them because anecdotal evidence is all that manifestation people have to stand on. So we have to debunk it all. The fourth reason is only exceptional cases are reported. And this is huge in the manifestation community. When you see these fantastical stories, people really latch onto that, and you don't realize how extremely rare they are. Like, you're having Catherine Zinkina, Gabrielle Bernstein, Jen Sincero, Amanda Francis living these millionaire, multi-millionaire lives, going to the Maldives, buying mansions, all of these things. And I'm like, I just named 4 white women. And that's all. I know there are more people who have success stories and they ascribe it to manifestation, but if it were a real force, you would have more stories like this, and the stories you're not hearing are really important. That's the thing. These stories get reported, these exceptional stories, because they're attention grabbing, they're really exciting, and that's what, gets the clicks or sells the newspapers in the olden days. But it's the same thing in MLMs or multi-level marketing. For those of you who don't know, you see these exceptional stories touted all over the place, and the FTC says 1% of people actually even make a profit at all in an MLM. And that's not millions, that's not multiple 6 figures, that's just a profit. And as one of those 1%ers, I can tell you the profit was not very much. And as I go through and look back, I realize how little I was actually making and how I almost gaslit myself into thinking that I was making more than I was and that I was going to make even more, like success was right around the corner, and that's how they keep you in for so long, and I'll do a separate video on that. But the important thing with anecdotal evidence is that you need to take the anecdotes of every single person who's ever taken a manifestation course, and then you can see the percentages of people who've had any type of result in maybe just one area, because manifestation teachers promise you success in every single area, which is just like bananas. I don't know how I fell for it. I feel very silly, but That's why I'm here embarrassing myself for you guys. So that's a huge thing. And also I want to mention that as someone who was mildly successful in an MLM, people aren't always honest about their anecdotes either. People will, especially if there is monetary value to be gained, they will skew the data to make themselves sound better and more successful than they actually were. All right, next reason we don't accept anecdotal evidence. Outcomes are often vague. Oftentimes they're like, oh, I felt so much better. I'm so much more vibrant. I have more abundance in my life. And none of these things are quantifiable. So for this portion, I went to Manifestation Babe's website, and she has been in business since 2016, I believe. And now it's 2024, so 8 years. And she has exactly 2 testimonials on her website. And I had to click on a couple different things and scroll way down. And she only has one course now. She only has the Manifestation Babe Academy. She doesn't have multiple courses. She has one course. I click on it. I scroll through like all her propaganda to try to find some testimonials, which were really hard to find. And there are only 2. And I know in my class, when I took her course, it was her first $1 million launch, which I mentioned in my last video. The course is $2,000. That means at least 500 people signed up, new people signed up for the course. Because if you were a previous student, you got to, take it again. But at least 500 new people signed up for the course. And she has 2 testimonials, and that was just one of her launches. She launches twice a year. So if she has had, 10,000 people take the course, why does she only have 2 testimonials on her website? This is a little bit of a tangent, but as I was editing my video for last week, the thought popped into my head that I should have said in that video, which I'm going to say now. If your job is teaching other people how to do something, your success is not important. Your ability to teach someone else is important. So your student's success is more important. But 99% of Catherine's advertising and marketing is her life. It's her going to the Maldives. It's her showing off her clothes. It's her saying how much money she's made. But your job, what you're selling, is teaching us how to manifest. And you have 2 testimonials. If it really worked, wouldn't there be people in every industry having a lot of success, but you don't have any testimonials? So the 2 testimonials she does have are both very vague. They're like, I feel like I love myself. My inner self matches who I always wanted to be. They do both mention money, but if you actually read it, it's very vague. So one says, I've had $6,000 and $11,000 checks deposited in my bank account. Okay, what does that mean? Because I had a $16,000 check deposited in my bank account in July of 2021 because my grandmother passed away and she left me a percentage of her estate. So I didn't manifest that. I would much rather that my grandma still be here, but I'm glad she's no longer in pain. Anyway, this is not about like my grief or anything, but she had that will locked and loaded. She lived longer than she thought she would, and she had that will locked and loaded like 20 years before that, and then 10 years later she slightly altered it to update it and just make sure everything was updated. But that was long before I'd even heard of manifestation. I would have gotten that money regardless. It does not matter whether I would have manifested it or not. You can get, a rebate check for something that, you could have bought something that was faulty and maybe you never had a problem with it, but there was a class action settlement, so you got like a small check for that. You can get an inheritance. You can get all sorts of things, like a random $6,000 and $11,000. Like, what is that? Like, what? That just doesn't make any sense. And then the other person is an energy healer. So, okay, enough said. You've made millions of dollars, selling manifestation to people, and the only people that you are posting their testimonials are also people who are perpetuating the scam. So they're also just selling people on the idea that they can be rich if they just fix something that's fundamentally wrong in themselves. So that's something I noticed a lot too, and I don't have scientific evidence on this, but I would like to see a study of how many people claim manifestation, helped them have success. What percentage of those people are also selling manifestation or some kind of spiritual crap? Because it's all a grift. And to me, it's like the few people that have success in multi-level marketing, they brag about their success, but like they're having success because they've duped so many people and they're profiting off the labor of so many people. I have a strong feeling that everyone who's manifested success is doing so because they are profiting off of a bunch of people who aren't making money, the same as MLM babes. So anyway, I just don't understand why she doesn't have more testimonials. And if it really worked with as many students as she's had, we would be seeing a wave of like CEOs, people getting starring roles in movies and TV shows and performing on Broadway. And, we would have like at least some of the lottery winners would be like, I manifested this because I took Manifestation Babe Academy. Like they would absolutely tell her and she would get that testimonial and put it on her website. But her testimonials show that most people have not manifested anything. So that was all on anecdotal evidence. Now, I might come back later. You might see the light change because I'm currently on my lunch break. I'm working from home and my lunch break is over in 8 minutes. So, and it's winter here in Illinois. And even though the days are getting longer, the sun does set at around 4:45. So I might come back and I won't have any daylight. I'll just have to deal with like ring light and lamps and stuff. So I'm going to keep going for now, but I don't know if I'm going to finish this video right now. So if I change, that's why. Okay, so now we're done with anecdotal evidence. Yay. Okay. So next I want to talk about one of the reasons that I don't accept manifestation is it's called Aams Razer. And if you've never heard of Aams Razer, it's a philosophical and problem-solving kind of tool that basically says the most obvious explanation is the likely explanation. So if you have to require all these extenuating things, it's probably not true. In a rare occasion, the complicated explanation actually is true. But in most cases, the simplest explanation is true. So if you can't find your keys and you suddenly find them in a really weird place, it's probably not because you have a ghost that is messing with you. It's probably not that you had like a burglar come in and like tried to steal something, but then they heard you moving around and so they just dropped your keys like in a weird place and then ran away. It's probably just because you misplaced your keys, So when it comes to manifestation, is it more likely that there's this secret, unknown method to wealth that nobody has really been able to tap into except for this hot 20-something girl on Instagram? And she's going to teach you how to like fix your mindset and your blocks and your spirit through hypnosis and breath work. And you're going to have to do all of these complicated journal things. Is that more likely? Or is it that the powerful want to stay powerful and so they lobby Congress to pass legislation that favors them and they just keep getting richer and richer? And once you're rich, it's like easier to stay rich. Like, is it that? Or is it that like, do you have something complex to fix it in yourself? Or do you just have a shopping addiction? Have you just never like negotiated your salary? Have you stayed at the same job for 10 years and not asked for a raise or move into another job, which often can get you a better raise? Have you not like done basic personal finance? Are you attracting the same guy in your life because you have to like, heal this thing from a past life because you were Anne Boleyn and Henry VIII cut your head off, so you have to forgive Henry VIII in your past life and you have to release that inherited trauma and then you'll find the man of your dreams? Or do you just need to go to therapy and work on your trauma from this life? Like, the obvious explanation is probably right, and most people like to go around the block a couple times and try to come up with some complex explanation to avoid accountability or to avoid taking control of their lives. And I just want to say, I do think that like that is one of the double-edged swords of manifestation. I do think that we should take responsibility for our lives. I think we should do it as much personal responsibility as we can. But at the same time, we need to acknowledge the systems that favor certain people over other people and the economic systems that have disadvantaged an entire generation. And so many of us, have paid the price for us to have like a billionaire class, which we don't need. Nobody needs that much money. So anyway, Aams Razer is the most obvious explanation. Whether you want to hear it or not is probably the right explanation. And if you don't have the money that you want, it's probably either because some personal finance issue in yourself, or like you're poor and it's really hard to be poor and poverty is expensive and there are all these things that make it really hard to get out of poverty. And it's a lot easier to think like, oh, if I fix these spiritual things, I'll get out of it, versus like really fighting against all of these systems that are keeping you poor. But you can do it. Anyway, I don't want to get into like all the complexities around poverty in the United States, but because it's really complex. But just to leave it at that, that's where I'm going to leave it. The next thing I want to say, if you're coming into this space and you believe in manifestation, do not engage with me as if you know more than me, as if you know better than me. This is something I see a lot as someone who has grown up in a conservative religious tradition of Christianity and been very familiar with that culture. I've gone on a faith deconstruction and I follow a lot of creators all across the spectrum, whether they've ended up atheist or are still Christian, but who have torn apart that theology and critiqued it and examined it and said, hey, this is why this is harmful, this is why people are leaving, etc. And inevitably, when someone critiques Christian theology, a Christian will come into their comments section and be like, oh, that's not real Christianity, and here's what it actually is. Let me explain to you what Christianity is. And it drives me crazy because this person is like, I've said in a million TikToks that I was raised in Christianity. Like, I'm a pastor's kid. I'm a missionary kid. I was a worship leader. I went to seminary, whatever it may be. Like, they know. Like, cue Ron Swanson in Home Depot. I know more than you. So I want to say that as well to you guys, being like, you don't really get manifestation. You don't understand it. You need to read Wayne Dyer. You need to read Louise Hay. Like, I have. I understand it theoretically. I've read all the books. That's why I can name all the names of these people that I've named throughout this video. And I've taken Rich Babe Academy and Manifestation Babe Academy. I even took like a much more spiritual course that included clearing karma from past lives, even though I don't necessarily believe in that. I've read all the stuff and I've experienced it by doing all the practical stuff as well. I've done the breath work, the hypnosis, the journaling, the limiting belief blaster. I've done all of these things and I still, feel this way. Or actually, I've gotten to the place where I feel this way, which means I've pulled it apart. I've looked at it critically, and that's why I'm here. I wouldn't be here if I hadn't really gone there and back again. So I'm here putting myself out on YouTube so I can warn other people not to waste their time, energy, and mental health on this. So now I'm going to pause and I will be back later. Hello, I am back, and I listened back to the first part of this video and I realized it was pretty loud. So I put the cover on the microphone and I tested it and I think it sounds better. So sorry if you have to adjust your volume. clearly, it's a different day. I recorded the first part of that video on my lunch break, and after work, I made dinner, and then I sat on the couch and my cat got in my lap while I was having dinner. And then she stayed there for like 3 hours. So I couldn't move because, there was a cat on me. You guys know. So, that is why it's a different day, a different outfit. But look how comfy I am. So I just want to finish up this video on why the logic of manifestation is so flawed. And, if they come up with more compelling evidence, I am open to having my mind changed. But this idea has been around in the modern age, at least 30, 40 years, but honestly for hundreds of years. And there is no compelling evidence to date that this is real. There are things that have been proven, like the placebo effect, visualization being helpful, meditation being good for your nervous system, things like that, but there's no evidence that humans have a vibration that matches other things in the world and attracts them to you like a magnet. Also, the idea of like attracts like is actually, it's like attracts the opposite. If we're going to use magnets as an example, that's not a very compelling example, because if you put two ends of the magnet together that are the same, they will repel each other. So actually, if you're in a good place and you have a high vibration, shouldn't you be attracting bad things into your life? According to your logic, that's something we got to think about. So in between recording the first half of this video and now, I got a comment from someone that I am preventing people from living their best life by speaking out on manifestation. And I had so many thoughts in response about how believing in manifestation is actually what is preventing people from living their best lives that I have started writing the script for my next video. And so my next video will be on why believing in manifestation actually prevents you from achieving your goals. So stay tuned for that. And it's not just because of that person. It's not like a whole video in response to that person. It's a video. It's an important video. It's important to note that believing in this stuff can actually hold you back from living the best life you possibly can. So finally, I want to talk to, if anyone who actually believes in manifestation is watching this, I would think a lot of them would avoid my channel and my videos, but from some of the comments I've gotten, they are not. They are watching this. I want to speak to you and let you know that I empathize with you and I understand how hard it is to hear the critiques of something that you really believe in and something that you hold to be true, that you believe influences your life, and for a lot of you that maybe you've made your whole personality. When I was in multi-level marketing, I would be very wounded by any criticisms of both the company that I was partnered with, that I was an independent contractor with, and criticisms of the MLM industry in general. And I would get defensive and it would be really hard to hear that. Also, when you're in a religion, which I've also been, having people bring criticisms of your religion feels like a personal attack because you've internalized it so much and you've put your identity into it. And I see people doing that with manifestation as well. I deeply wanted this to be real when I was in it. I really believed it was. And I started having these niggling doubts as I noticed actual provable things, like actual things that were happening in my life. I noticed my income decreasing. I noticed that I wasn't getting singing opportunities. I noticed that the more I got into this, the worse my life seemed to get. And I especially noticed all the people around me in like my accountability groups for manifestation and in the greater like student groups and just these groups of like entrepreneurs, like spiritual entrepreneurs. I was in some Facebook groups for people like that, a lot of people who believe and teach this stuff to other people, and tangentially related stuff like human design and other things. I noticed there was very few people having success and a lot of people having really big tragedies, really hard things to deal with, and blaming themselves and thinking, I just have to release. I have this block around success that I need to release. I must be blocking money from coming to me. I need to do more spiritual work. I need to hire a life coach, hire a past life person, hire, one of these people in the spiritual entrepreneur space to fix something that's intrinsically wrong with me as a human in order to get what I want. And it's both somehow avoiding accountability to others by taking it all on yourself, and also avoiding accountability to yourself by placing the blame on these vague spiritual notions rather than the actual habits and beliefs that would make a difference in your life. And I'm going to go into that in my next video. So the doubts that kept getting louder and louder and louder as I saw these different stories come up, I immediately tried to squash them because I was so paranoid. Manifestation theology says that those exact doubts that you have are what is keeping you from manifesting all that you want in your life. And that, I know the word gaslighting gets thrown around a lot these days, but that is the literal definition of gaslighting. When someone tells you it's all in your head, the things that you're seeing, observable reality isn't reality, that is gaslighting. That is saying it's making you question your reality. When I first had the thought of, what if all this is wrong and I'm wasting my time? What if I can't ever become a millionaire? What if I can't ever get to perform on Broadway or on the stage of the Met? Anything like that. Like, what if I actually can't have these huge dreams that I desire? Manifestation teachers had taught me that I could, and the only thing standing between that dream and me achieving it was my own self-doubt and my own issues. I started to realize that wasn't true, and I had severe anxiety. I absolutely, I had gotten way too attached to this dream life that once I started to come back to reality, it was crushing. So much worse than if I had never believed in it in the first place. So that is why I make this content. I'm not attacking you. I'm not trying to tear anyone down. Even my whole video on Manifestation Babe never having manifested anything, I'm not attacking her as a person. I'm not trying to destroy her life. I am looking at the harm she's doing, and I'm using logic to pull apart a lot of these arguments, a lot of these concepts that manifestation teachers teach. So please don't take it personally. Please don't take it as an attack on you. Manifestation might make you feel like you have power over these things that you actually don't have power of, but it doesn't. It's actually extremely disempowering and anxiety producing. It prevents you from holding any person or system accountable for harm. It prevents you from actually working on tangible things that could improve your life. It's ultimately harmful. There might be some good if it gives you the courage to ask for a raise, or it gives you the confidence to audition for something that you might not have auditioned for. But ultimately, those are things that you could get to without believing in manifestation. And it also gets you to blame yourself when bad things happen to you. So this is why I have this channel, and it's not attacking you. And even me making this whole video on the burden of proof is on you. I'm not saying this to like throw down and be like, prove it, biatch, you know, like, you little idiot believing in this magic. I believed in it. That's not me saying that at all. I'm not a podcast bro being like, debate me, bro. I'm not like that at all. Honestly, I think if you do try to prove it, using the rules that I've laid forth here, the logical rules where you can't use anecdotal evidence, you have to use a large sample size, you have to be able to measure it across a control group and a non-control group, you won't be able to, and then you'll actually be able to come back into reality and take control of your life and actually make it better. So that's why I make this content. So this is all I have for you today. Just finishing up this video. I'm hoping to edit it. I'm hoping to make weekly videos. And I know that you guys have reacted positively to the idea of me reacting to manifestation content on TikTok and other places. So I am going to learn how to do the thing that YouTubers do where they have the TikToks on the side, like here or here, wherever, and they play them and they react to them. I'm going to do that. I'm going to learn how to do that. I am slowly improving my technical skills, so thank you for your patience and thank you for supporting me. I would love for you to subscribe if you haven't already, and to share this video with a friend and get them to subscribe. I am just a tiny YouTuber at this moment, and I'm not trying to like go viral or anything. That actually terrifies me, but I would love it if I inspired more people to speak out about how manifestation has harmed them. I believe this is the next big grift. I believe that multi-level marketing, it's still around, it's always going to be around, but the anti-MLM movement here on YouTube has made an impact on people and has helped people get out, has helped people heal, including myself, has helped people not join in the first place. And I think that's wonderful. And I would love if my little tiny YouTube channel with my thoughts and opinions could get more people involved, and we collectively could help debunk this grift. It's like me and Danielle Ryan. And if you know of any other people, I would love to, talk with them and follow them on YouTube and subscribe to them so that we can all signal boost and, get this message out. So that's all I have for you today. Until next time, don't enroll in any manifestation courses and do something nice for yourself today. And I'll see you in the next one.
Honey, I'm a perfect 10. Whoa.